So, you're going to Walt Disney World. Yay! It's going to be so much fun. But wait a minute. Where are you going to stay? What will you pack? And how will you make your trip magical without breaking the bank? If you're wondering how to get the most out of your Walt Disney World vacation, welcome. This is Girl Meets WDW on the Go, your source for insider tips and tricks for a magical Walt Disney World experience that you won't hear anywhere else. We'll show you how, with a little planning, you can be the prince or princess of your own Magic Kingdom on your next Walt Disney World trip. Now, here's your host, Sarah Kinner.
Welcome to Girl Meets Walt Disney World on the Go. I'm your host, Sarah Kinner, and I want to thank you so much for being a part of our first podcast ever. Today, we're talking with Matt Wilthe from Kingdom Strollers to find out more about renting a stroller for your next trip to Walt Disney World.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me about your company. As I told you in my initial request, I am always on different Disney World forums, and I see so many questions about stroller rentals. Actually, just before I had this call, I saw a question about Kingdom Strollers, so that kind of made me laugh because there's definitely a lot of interest out there to learn more about your company. So thank you and welcome.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
So I have to ask, the first thing I noticed on your site is that you are a Disney featured stroller provider. Can you explain what that means exactly?
Sure. So Disney a few years ago decided to whittle down the number of companies that they wanted to deal with. There were just a plethora of different companies offering different services, and in order for the different bell stands to be able to accommodate the guests and respond to them rapidly, they wanted to try to pare down that number of companies that they were dealing with directly. So they did interviews, they did financial background, history, visited the different facilities of the companies, and they came down to 3 companies that they decided they wanted to use and do what they called a featured provider. And so we were selected as one of those companies, and what that allows us to do is deliver directly to Disney, have them hold the strollers or cribs or whatever else it may be, and they'll hold it there for the guest at their luggage stand or their bell stand. Other companies can still deliver there, but they need to meet the guest face to face. Disney won't hold their items. So it's a convenience factor now for our guests to be able to have their rental items held by Disney. That way, in case there's a delay in their travel plans or transportation, they're not having to rearrange their whole day just to try to meet somebody to pick up or return their stroller.
Wow, that's fantastic. That you're able to do that for your customers. I know myself, I'm really looking forward to working with you on our trip next week. And I'm a little bit nervous because I'm traveling alone with my son. And one of the things I was thinking about was like, oh, gee, do I bring my stroller? But he's 5 and he hasn't been in the stroller for, almost 3 years. And I'm picturing myself pushing a stroller through the airport and chasing him around. So that kind of took that concern out of the equation. So yeah.
At the age of 5, they're old enough to be able to, hopefully manage themselves through most of the day. But when you get to a park and you're there for 12 hours and it's 90 degrees and, they're going to melt down at some point. So it's good to have a resting spot for them.
Right. Okay. So let me ask you this. What exactly made you decide to start your company, and how long have you been in business for?
We started our company in September of 2010, and it all came from an idea of a friend who was buying and selling strollers off Craigslist. He would buy them, clean them up, and then resell them and make $50 to $100 on a stroller. And we said, why don't we try that here in Orlando? And the income level between Washington, D.C. and Orlando is, dramatically different. And so we had purchased some strollers, and I said, what if we just rent these to people that come on vacation? I did some research, saw that there were some other companies, and tweaked those ideas that were already existing. And, let's deliver it earlier. Let's let them keep it later. Let's offer a free rain cover instead of charging them $10 for a rain cover. And so that slowly built into what it is today. Within 6 months of starting the company, I quit my career, and this is what God has blessed us with this day.
That's fantastic that you really enjoy this. It definitely seems like there's quite a market out there. So that's fantastic.
It's turned into something that we never quite imagined that it could be. We thought that this would be a way to bring in some supplemental income, and it's provided us the opportunity to change our lives, really. So
right,
it's been a blessing.
Right. Yeah, certainly. So another question I have for you is, I noticed that you seem like you offer quite a variety of different strollers as well as cribs. Can you kind of walk us through what you offer and also what seems to be your most popular rental?
Sure. So, like you said, we offer 5 different singles, 4 different kinds of doubles, a specialty needs stroller, and then some bedding options. We primarily deal with Baby Jogger and Bob Revolution products. So we carry City Mini singles and City Mini doubles. Then another model called the Mini GT. So we carry a single and a double in that. We carry what's called a City Elite single. And we carry the Summit X3 single and Summit X3 double, as well as the Bob Revolution single and the Bob Revolution dually. Now, those would be all of our normal strollers. The special needs stroller is called the Liberty Special Needs Push Chair, and that's designed for individuals that have mobility issues. And then we carry full-size cribs, compact folding cribs, and inflatable toddler beds and inflatable bed rails.
Oh, wow. You really run the gamut here. So is there something that tends to be really popular with your customers?
I found that the Mini GT stroller tends to cover a wide variety of different children, from small children and kids up to almost 8 years old. All of the strollers have a certain weight and height capacity. The GT kind of seems to cover the most broad range of kids. I would say that's probably our most popular stroller as far as the number of rentals that they receive.
Great. Okay. Another question that I have for you is just frequenting all of these different online forums. There are 2 questions that I see very frequently when it comes to stroller rentals or even just strollers in general. It seems to really be the anxiety point for a lot of people. So maybe we could get your opinions here. One of the questions that I see is that for example, there's a family that has 2 small kids. And the question seems to be, should they rent a double stroller? Should they rent 2 single strollers? What would your advice be?
It's always a touchy one. I think people think 2 single strollers is going to be easier and lighter for them. What I typically point out to them is, unless you're going to do a lot of splitting up, I would just go with a double stroller. Simply because it's one item to keep track of. It's one item to get on and off of the buses. Even if one child is not in the stroller all the time, you'd probably rather push one stroller around than one stroller with one child and another stroller with no child in it. Plus, it's going to be a cheaper alternative than going with 2 singles. So unless you split up a lot, 2 singles, it just becomes more items to keep track of.
Right. Sounds like it. Okay. And then I guess the other question And that's actually a question that I had for you. You know, families who have older kids who haven't been using strollers for several years and they may not own a stroller.
Right.
Do you recommend that, you know, kids who are 5 or 6, or even I've seen questions about kids who are almost 7 years old, their families rent a stroller? And if so, is there a model that tends to fit the bigger kids better?
Well, there are several models that have height capacities up to 48 inches in the double, 50 inches in the single. So, it kind of comes down to the individual height and weight of the child. All of the doubles have a 50-pound maximum per side. So if the child's over that, as far as weight, then usually that's when I would move them into a single. Sometimes you'll have the situation where let's say they have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. The 4-year-old's probably going to get a lot more use out of the stroller, but the 7-year-old will tire out. That's when I'll usually recommend just going with one of the larger singles. And then when the 7-year-old needs to rest, the 4-year-old can hop out, burn off some of that energy, allow the 7-year-old to rest and relax, and then hop out when they're ready. The 4-year-old can go back into the stroller.
That's a great point, and actually we'll be putting that in the memory bank. Where this trip, I am actually just taking my son on my own, and my husband staying with our youngest. But the next time we go, we'll have 2 kids. So.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, my youngest is he is almost 8 months old. So we decided to keep the 8-month-old home, and I'm completely spoiling my oldest. He's getting spoiled rotten by getting 100% what he wants to do on this trip. But yeah, that's a very good point about being able to.
And you brought up the point about the older children. A lot of people think, well, they don't use a stroller at home. When we go to the mall, they don't use it, or when we go to the local zoo, they don't use it. Disney's a different beast. The sheer size of Disney property is equal to the island of Manhattan. And, when you go to a park, you're going to do 6-7 miles of walking in a day in 80 to 90 degree weather. The kids are going to get tired. And usually dad is the one that hesitates about renting. And I always tell them, go take the kids on a 6-mile walk in the middle of the day and see how far you get. And pretty soon you're going to be begging somebody for a stroller. So.
Yeah. Or you're going to end up, with the kid on your shoulders all day.
Exactly. Yeah. And then then vacation it's not fun,
Right,
so
right.
we'll get a lot of guests, and, they'll send us thank you email, and they'll say, this was the best money we spent on vacation. You're going to spend some people spend $5,000-$6,000 on a Disney vacation, and they'll balk at the very end for a $60 stroller. And I'm just like, don't ruin all that money that you spent just to save that extra $60 at the end, because the 5-year-old, gets tired. They do. They have little legs, and it's a lot of excitement and stimulus and, distractions, and they're going to overload themselves at some point. So.
Right. That's definitely a good point. Is there a certain time of the year that you tend to either sell out or you're low on inventory? And when do you recommend people book their rentals?
Actually, this time of year is a very, very peak season. April and May are extremely busy. We have over 1,000 strollers in our inventory, and this week we are 99% booked. So we have just a very few strollers left to rent out. Again, in September and October is an extremely busy season. When it's a slow time at Disney, or a slower time, there tends to be a switch in the type of people that are visiting Disney. So in the spring, late spring, and early fall, you'll have people that have small kids. They have the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old that can go any time of the year, and missing school or missing preschool is not a big deal. In the summer, we're slower. It's all kids that can only go during the summer break. So it tends to be a little bit older crowd. It's just a demographic swing. So usually I recommend at least a month out, if at all possible, just to make sure that you're able to get what you need. Most of the time we have the availability during those peak seasons, April, May, September, October. Those months, if you're coming in those months, it's always good to try to book at least 2 months out so that you can ensure that you're going to get the model that you're interested in.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, generally speaking, do you, you obviously would probably recommend that families rent strollers. Is there, in your opinion, what are the benefits of renting versus bringing your own from home if you have one?
The amount of wear and tear that you're going to put on a stroller at Disney is pretty intense. It's obviously the kids are going to be using it more than they would normally at home. They're going to be sleeping in it more. You're going to be having it out more hours during the day, out in the sun. The typical stroller that families have aren't, how would I say it? There are some strollers that aren't going to make it through the vacation. We'll get people that call to say, we brought our own and it broke, or we broke off a wheel, or the kids just aren't comfortable. They can't recline. They can't take a nap. All of our strollers they recline to about 30 degrees from flat. They're in great shape. We take great care of them. They're laundered in between each use, so all the fabric is removed. They're extra clean. They've got plenty of shade. You've got the parent console for your beverages and the baskets for all your, daily necessities and everything. So,
right. The parent console is probably key, to stay hydrated.
For your drinks. People that drive down, bringing a double stroller is going to take up the space of 2 suitcases. So a lot of times families just don't have space to bring a stroller with them, or they don't want to bring it through the airport. And if you have a nice $300 or $400 stroller, the airlines aren't always the most gentle with those types of things. So again, we get calls where, we just got off the plane and our stroller is missing a wheel or missing a canopy because the airlines broke their stroller.
Right.
And then you can rent the ones from the parks. Those are also an option. The ones at the parks are just heavy duty tanks designed to take abuse and be hosed down at the end of the day. There's no padding. They don't recline. The sunshade is like a potato sack, so it just lets the light filter right through it. You don't have to take it back and forth to the resort with you, but a lot of times the kids are sleeping when you get off the bus at 11:30 at night, and you may be staying at Art of Animation, and the bus stop back to your room is still another 7-minute walk because you're all the way back in Little Mermaid,
I've done that walk, and I can't imagine.
Yeah, you're 1,000 feet from the nearest bus stop, and you've got a 55-pound 6-year-old slept over your shoulder, and it's the longest march you've ever had to take in your life. So.
Right. Very good point. Okay. Another question I have, and I've seen, has been, does theft often occur at Disney? And is the purchasing insurance something that you would recommend for renters?
The insurance is there as a peace of mind option for the guest. If it was me personally, I probably would. These strollers range anywhere from $250 to $560 if they needed to be replaced due to theft. Now, theft is not a major occurrence. It's not something that we necessarily worry about. It does happen maybe 3 or 4 times a year, always at Magic Kingdom for some reason. But it's not a frequent occurrence. But it is a peace of mind option, just in case, it does get stolen. Nothing's going to ruin your vacation quicker than a $560 charge at the end of your vacation to replace a stroller that suddenly went missing. So,
right.
But it's there. It's optional. It's optional for the guest. And like I said, some people are just more risk averse than others, and some people like that peace of mind for the extra $15 or so to add the insurance on. So.
It sounds like the extra peace of mind, it might be worthwhile to make that little extra investment so you're not worrying every time you have to park it.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I guess my last question for you is, why should families choose to rent from Kingdom Strollers, and what exactly makes your company unique over some of your competitors?
Sure. So they do have options, just like in any business. There are always other options. Kingdom Strollers tries to differentiate itself in the number of products that we offer. So we try to make sure that we cover the full range of children, from the smallest toddler and infant, by offering car seat adapters for strollers. So if you're bringing an infant along, you can bring their car seat, all the way up to children with special needs, who may be in that 9, 10-year-old range, but have autism or some other, mobility issue that doesn't allow them to walk for long periods. So we've tried to make sure that all of those children are taken care of. We also offer the cribs and the different bedding options. A lot of the companies rent the same types of strollers. We're available 7 days a week from 6 o'clock in the morning up until 9 o'clock at night to be reached by phone. You can reach us by email, and we try to respond to emails as quickly as possible, usually within 10 minutes, just depending on where we're at in the day. You can also text us, and we're very quick to respond to text. So there's a customer service aspect to it, not just dropping off a stroller and picking it up at the end, but if there's ever an issue, we're very quick to resolve that issue. If you need advice about something or a question, I'll even go so as far as if they're going to a questionable hotel, I'll let them know, hey, let's take a second look at that hotel, because we've been there a couple of times, and it's, I don't want anybody to go to a place that we wouldn't feel comfortable leaving the stroller at. So.
Right. Yikes.
Which has happened. We've saved a couple people, and I said, look, everybody has different budgets. That hotel, it may not be what's represented on the internet. The real life, the reality of that hotel is different than what you may see online. So.
Right. Okay. And if the listeners at home want to get more information about Kingdom Strollers, or they want to go ahead and rent, how can they do so?
They can always visit our website, which is www.kingdomstrollers.com. It's a great place to start. You can not only can you book the stroller there or the crib, but you'll be able to view the video of how it works. You'll be able to take the strollers and you can spin them around in a 360-degree view. You can kind of see what the stroller looks like from all angles. It's going to give you the height and weight capacity, the pricing, and everything. There's also a great frequently asked questions section that's going to cover most of the general everyday questions. And then you can always give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you out. We can take the order over the phone, or you can do it online, or we can answer the question that you may have that you're not seeing the answer to there on the website. You can also text us a question, and we'll be able to respond to that text as well and get you guys on your way. So,
Great.
Try to make it easy for our guests.
Right. Well, thank you so much for spending the time. I really appreciate it.
That's it for today's episode of Girl Meets Walt Disney World on the Go. Until next time, have a very magical day.
This has been Girl Meets WDW on the Go. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you found the show helpful in planning your next Walt Disney World vacation. Are you getting excited yet? Join us next time for another episode of the podcast. Or if you can't wait, check out girlmeetswdw.com for more exclusive tips and interviews. That's girlmeetswdw.com.